Every once in a while, Sword Art Online delivers a perfect episode. This is one of them. Greetings, my fellow adventurers. Get ready to equip your swords and go on a grand adventure, because this was another fantastic episode of Sword Art Online Alicization. This was really the best episode so far. I mean, who can deny the first 8 minutes of this episode alone were not just plain orgasmic? Kirito and Eugeo battling against a group of goblins seems kind of standard, kind of boring, something you'd see in any other anime series. But here, it is delivered with such expert animation, directing, and amazing style that it honestly might be one of the greatest action sequences that I've seen from the entire SAO franchise. What I'm trying to get at here is that this episode was absolute perfection. The first 8 minutes alone was just an amazing action episode, but the rest is setting up what the entire grand journey is going to be about for Kirito and Eugeo as they leave this village to try and find Alice and save her from her dreaded fate. But this episode does a fantastic job of showing the evolution of these characters and who they're going to become on this grand journey, as well as a stark realization that this is going to be unlike any other season of SAO thus yet. While we do know that Kirito is stuck in some sort of virtual world, we get to see the repercussions of staying and living in such a world in this episode. You can still be physically harmed, and unlike in SAO in the original series, you can actually feel the damage. You can feel everything when you are hurt. In fact, there's a surprising amount of blood in this episode, to the point where it really does sort of trick you into believing that Kirito truly is stuck in some sort of real fantasy world. Really, everything just got way more intense in this episode, so let's break down some of the big moments. The first part of the episode is, of course, Kirito and Eugeo battling against a group of goblins. And guys, this entire sequence is just jaw-droppingly amazing. If it's not the amazing colors or the fantastic character designs, it's simply just the way that Kirito moves. It's always been really fun watching him be a swordsman, as he certainly has developed his very own style, but I think it's been fully realized in this action scene right here as he's battling against these group of goblins. They constantly swarm him from every single direction, but he still manages to effortlessly dodge each of them and attack them all at the same time. But it's his actual battle with the big bad leader of these goblins that truly shows off why this episode is just so incredibly special. What I really love about it is that at first Kirito actually manages to push this guy back quite a bit, even going as far as to cutting off his arm, which, like I said, is surprisingly gory when compared to some of the stuff that we've seen from Sword Art Online, but this just manages to piss this guy off even more, knocking Kirito back and forcing them to get even more rough with one another. Eugeo even manages to get involved in the battle, knowing that this is sort of his opportunity to prove that he has the ability to be brave. Things are not going to be like they were in the past for him. He still fears that he will constantly not be able to move forward, just like when he didn't save Alice. This is his opportunity to save Kirito, and he goes for it, and it's an amazingly heroic sequence, but it's all followed by Kirito getting up in there and doing what he does best by finishing off this goblin leader, all with help from Eugeo. This entire scene just exploded off of the screen and immediately sold me on how good this entire episode was going to be. Right after that, however, we go back to that fucking tree, which has still not been cut down. And to be perfectly honest with you, I was almost annoyed at this moment. I was like, oh great, we're gonna spend the rest of this episode trying to cut this damn tree down. The good thing is, fighting against this group of goblins have actually allowed these characters to level up, so to speak, and they're able to utilize that rose sword in a much more proficient manner, to the point where both Kirito and Eugeo eventually manage to not only cut all the way through the tree, but cut it down completely, thus freeing Eugeo from having to spend his entire life cutting down this tree and giving him the freedom to do what he truly wants to do now, which is to become a swordsman, just like Kirito. And that's going to lead them to both go on this adventure to find Alice and explore this amazing underworld. I was so hyped how this episode ended, and it took 4 episodes to get here, but I have to say it was worth it, because now I truly appreciate the character of Eugeo and his character from how he started out as this young, timid would-be hero, and now he literally is just becoming the blonde-haired Kirito. Maybe that's the intention. I mean, really look at the two characters. They look almost identical to one another aside from the color of their eyes and hair, almost as if Eugeo himself was designed after Kirito. If that actually ends up being the truth, that's going to be pretty damn freaky. But this episode, guys, this episode I could gush for days, and we're going to do that in the rundown of this episode of SAOA. I loved this episode. It was just such a perfect package. All of the action at the beginning was spec-freaking-tacular, and like I said, some of the best material that I've actually seen from the entire series. It was just such a triumphant and amazing moment. What I especially love about it is there is the implication that, of course, Alice is still around. She actually manages to communicate with Kirito a little bit in this episode, in this weird, ghostly, ethereal form, and it's basically just sort of like a preview to know these characters are eventually going to see each other again. Eugeo is the one who's definitely gotten the most development, though. How at the beginning of the episode he was incredibly timid, his knees were shaking, dude couldn't even get into the battle, but after seeing everything that Kirito's been doing to desperately fight back against these creatures, injuring himself, he decides to get involved, and it's such a triumphant and great moment, especially watching him actually cut down that tree. It was a huge moment to the point where the entire freaking town ended up throwing like this massive party just for this event and giving him the option of basically becoming free from this task and to become a swordsman. Seeing Kirito and Eugeo as they make their way into this brand new open fantasy world just gets me so excited to see what this story is going to be all about. We're finally going to see what's going on here, and the intro has just been teasing me every week because I know there's going to be so many brand new amazing characters and stories to tell, and still the ultimate mystery of why Kirito is in this world in the first place. This was an amazing episode in every way, guys. Even Selka ended up being a pretty important part of this episode. Her final reunion with Eugeo towards the very end of the episode was really inspiring and very heartfelt, and I think was sort of like the final springboard for pushing him forward. She can't bring herself to actually say that she has feelings for Eugeo. She simply just wants all of them to come back safe with Alice. It's just a very sweet moment and feels actually kind of sincere. I think the fact that they've taken the time to build this up over the course of 4 episodes is what really has made me sort of appreciate all of the time they've done for these characters and building them up and how incredibly realistic it feels. Just like Kirito, I think the viewers themselves are going to find themselves getting sucked into this world and believing that it is actually a real, living, breathing place and they're simply not in a virtual space. But still, that's going to be one of the grander mysteries of the show. But for now, I'm just going to take it for what it is as Kirito goes on another amazing fantasy adventure and becomes the swordsman that he was always born to be. 5 out of freaking 5 this episode rocked! And I would love to hear your thoughts about it, and you can tell me all of them in the comments section below, what you thought about this episode, your favorite moments from that battle with the Goblins, what do you hope to see from the rest of this grand adventure that is SAOA. Thank you guys for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down now, baby.